how do you choose your quilt patterns? Do you have a favorite classic traditional pattern that you wish you could change it up just a little bit? Well, this is that for me, and I am so excited to share this quilt with you. I'm Leah Louise from Inspired Quilting by Leah Louise. This is a traditional chevron quilt pattern, but with a little bit of a modern twist. We can always jazz up quilt patterns with fabulous fabrics, but what about enhancing the design with just a little bit of extra flair? Well, take a closer look at this quilt. The colors of this quilt are glorious, but that black and white accent strip makes such a fantastic statement. I love that it really contrasts with the rest of the quilt, and by making it a bit smaller, it's an amazing difference. I loved making this quilt so much, I created a pattern you can order. It's called Carnival, because this quilt just looks like a carnival filled with excitement. So let's get started. I want to show you up close how this baby goes together. But first, please give me a thumbs up if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. I want to share all my quilts with you. Now, let's go quilt. I am really excited about this pattern and anxious to share it with you. I think it's just turning out awesome. So what we're doing basically is we're going to take a half square triangle, just a single block, put it together to make a chevron pattern. Essentially this right here would be called a flying geese, but we're going to stack them together in order to create the alternate pattern. And what I want to show you is this isn't all going to fit. Maybe if I turn it this way. So I have the first row done, and there's actually 6 rows, so it's 6 blocks by 6 blocks, and 1 half square triangle is a single block, so there's a total of 36. And there's 6 rows. Row 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and 6 are the same as row 1. Just row 2 and 3 have this alternate accent strip. And what I want to show you is how this piece works. Now I am creating a pattern for this, and that's going to be available. All the dimensions, all the sizes, and cutting everything will be included in there, but I just want to show you the general idea of how this goes together. I think it's going to be great fun, and what I think is unique about this is we're able to use layer cakes. Now a lot of times you'll see a pattern like this with the half square triangles that are used in strip sets, and that works really great if you have a lot of say jelly rolls or something like that. But I want to use the larger pieces, and in order to do that I need to create a different method of putting this together. So we have our basic chevron going. We understand how that works, and what I want to show you here is how we create this. So this is our block that we're going to work on, and it's a half square triangle, and it has an accent strip. So you can see it's not difficult. We have just our half square right here, and then we have the 2 pieces. What I want to show you is how those 2 pieces go together, and this is where we start. So what I do is I have a block that I cut down to a smaller size, and I run a strip down the center in order to create my half square triangle. And so I take this block and I sew it to the edge of the strip. Then what I'm going to do is just cut, this one isn't long enough, just cut this piece and then sew it to the other side. And once I do that, this is what I get. So this is the beginning of this accent strip. And what I need to do here is trim it down. So I already did the first trim, and these are going to be trimmed to 10 inches. I have it set up so it makes it about 10 1/4 to 10 1/2. That way there's enough fudge factor there in order to trim this down to get a 10-inch square, because in order to get our half square triangle and be able to use the layer cake, which is 10 inches, this block also needs to be 10 inches. So you'll see I have a line right down the center, and I've highlighted this with red, so I think it's going to be easier to see. But a square ruler like this, you want it to have at least 10 inches. This is a 12.5. But I'm going to put my 10-inch up there in the corner, and I'm going to put this right over on top of that line so that I know I have this, and I've already cut that corner. So this is square, and now I want to do it the other way. The reason this is so important to line up this center line is we want to be able to have an even strip on both sides, because as you see, they're going to need to match up. And in order to get these seams to match up, we need to have everything be equally sized. And that becomes really important when you're working on these points. So I'm going to get this right in the center. And so I'm going to put that corner up here. Here, make sure my 10-inch is all the way around. I need to go a little bit higher there. And it looks like we are good to go. And so from here, I would just trim those edges. And now I have a 10-inch square. And what I would do is, putting my right sides together, lay this across the back, and then I'm going to sew down both sides. And this is then going to create my half square triangle. So we have this block here, trying to give you the overall perspective of this. Once this block is completed, it's going to go right up here, and you see we have this accent strip right here, and then we'll have the same on the other side. So when we make this, we sew it down the center, cut it in half, we get 2 of these, and they're going to go right here. So now we have this chevron that's working its way across, and then we need to finish off the bottom, because see how this works. We have this block here. We also need to have the extra little corner that's going to come down and turn. And let's see what I have here. I have this block we can use. Oh, there it is. I already have it sewn on there. Terrific. And so this is going to continue our chevron pattern. So because it's going this way, if we compare it to this, so these go here, then we have this wide one, and then we have this little corner. And then what we'll do is bring the other piece back up. All right, I've got this block finished. I want to show you how they join up. And you'll see here that this strip comes down. We have the point here. We have this point, and then this goes all the way up. And this will continue into the next pair of blocks. So we have 2, 4, and 6 blocks wide. And what I want to talk to you about is the seam allowance. In order to get these seams to line up, there are some techniques you can use that will help get your points where you want them to be. For example, on this one, see how that accent strip point is a little more than a 1/4 inch from the edge. So when I take my 1/4 inch seam right here, I'm still going to have a little bit of that point below the seam line. That's how we make sure that we don't lose our points. So the first thing we do in putting our seam together here is we want to make sure we take a nice generous 1/4 inch seam. And you can see I just go right down the edge, and I'm not sure if you can, there we go, that I think you can see it's just a tad bigger than a 1/4 inch. And that's what allows that point to drop down from the seam line. Now, the difference is when we do this lateral seam going the other direction, that one we want to do just shy of 1/4 of an inch. And the reason for that is that'll make sure that our seam does not run over and cut off the point. So like I said, we've talked about this a bit before in other half square triangle quilts, and I'll put a link here if you want to see more details about that, because that really does make a huge difference on getting everything to line up well. So we're going to do the same thing here. This seam, these seams, the first seam, I guess is the way to say it. The first seam you take a little bit bigger, and that keeps that point away from being too close into the seam. Like you can see right here, I have easily my 1/4 inch seam from the side. And it's just going to make it all go together so much more simply. And that's the secret to half square triangles as far as I'm concerned. That's how it works for me. As long as I get my seams done in the right manner with the right seam allowance, it makes all the difference in the world. So let me go ahead and finish putting this together. I have one more set to go, and we'll talk about getting this finished up. We're almost there. While the accent strips are the star of this quilt, the half square triangles will be the rest of the blocks. And that's quite simple. We take our 10-inch squares in whatever pattern or pair we want to put them into, match them up the way we like it, and we draw a line down the center and sew a 1/4 inch down each side, cut down that line, and then we have our half square triangles. And this then becomes the blocks that we use in the rows other than the accent strip. So that's rows 1, 4, 5, and 6. And you can certainly do the accent strips on the other rows as well, but I just thought it made more of a statement the way it was done that way. And of course, you know, with half square triangles, you have options, the way you can lay it out in addition to the way we've done it in this quilt. There are some other videos that have some more detailed explanations about half square triangles if they're new to you. Don't let them scare you away, because they're wonderful for quilts. They're wonderful to make some really dynamic patterns and create some interest and work with contrast. But that's the rest of the quilt, so it goes very, very simply. And what I want to show you is how this has come together. And I just love how this strip works here and just follows along the pattern. It's a great, wonderful way to add an accent. Now, I did black and white just because there's so much color going on in here. I thought black and white would probably create the best contrast. And it's a bit of a floral, so it fits in with the rest. It's an organic print, and I really like that. And then we come over here and we have the orange piece, and I love these big floral prints. So that's where we are here. And then, like I said, the rest of the quilt, it's simply half square triangles, and it goes together quickly because the half square triangles are easy, but the best part is this is made with layer cakes. So these are 10-inch blocks, and it is very quick to put together. For a quilt this size, it's over 50 inches square, and we're using only 36 blocks, so that's fantastic. And that goes pretty quick and easy. And look at this. Doesn't that just look pretty? I love it. I think this is wonderful. And I'm going to get the pattern all done up so y'all can try this yourself. And look at that. It's wonderful. I hope you've enjoyed this. I have really enjoyed putting this together, and I love a challenge and putting something new together for a quilt to give it some new life and make it exciting. Oh, what fun. I love this. I'll kind of get all these fabrics together and see how pretty that looks. Oh, it's wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video and if you'd like to see more, and we'll invite some other people to join us. But have a wonderful day. This has been so much fun to share with you. Thanks for watching.